Hello friends, welcome to the daily editorial enrichment program by Law Excellence R&D team. Today we are going to look at some of the important articles of the Hindu newspaper from the Delhi edition dated 19th November 2019. This slide shows some of the important articles in today's Hindu newspaper along with the issue and the page number. Let us look at the first article, a precedent. It can be linked to judiciary and issues related to judiciary part of the GS2 paper. It can be studied both from prelims as well as mains point of view. So, what is the context of this article? Recently, the Supreme Court ruled that Essar steel could be acquired by ArcelorMittal. Let us look at the brief history of this case. A consortium of banks led by SBI had moved the Supreme Court against the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal, that is NCLAT. The NCLAT had held that Essar Steel's operational creditors be treated on par with financial creditors when settling the claims. However, Essar Steel's Committee of Creditors had sought the quashing of NCLAT's order. With this brief background, let us see the procedure involved in insolvency and bankruptcy resolution. The process involves that if a company defaults and the amount is a minimum of 1 lakh rupees and the application is filed to the National Company Law Tribunal by financial creditors or operational creditors. However, if the NCLT admits the case, it will appoint interim resolution professionals and declare a moratorium period. Maybe that the moratorium period can be 180 to 270 days. In the interim period, resolution professional form a committee of creditors. However, if 75% of creditors in the committee okay the resolution plan, the revival goes through. Suppose if the committee of creditors have rejected the plan, the company goes through liquidation. It is a landmark judgment in the short history of insolvency and bankruptcy resolution in India. The judgment has cleared the way for sale of Essar Steel to ArcelorMittal. Some of the important observations made by the court in this regard are that NCLAT cannot take the role of Committee of Creditors, that is, deciding whether financial creditors are equal to the operational creditors. It is the duty of Committee of Creditors. Also, the Supreme Court has declared that 330-day limit is not sacrosanct because with the time limit pressure, there can be a improper insolvency. Also, primacy to financial creditors over operational creditors is upheld by the judgment. So, what is the importance of this judgment? It overall improves the IBC code performance. With the go-ahead given to the sale of Essar Steel, it is expected that banks will recover over 90% of the over rupees 40,000 crore that the company owes them. This will also help improve the financial position of weak public sector banks. Also, many approach the NCLAT to stall the IBC proceedings. This judgment can put an end to such impeding approaches to the NCLAT. However, the key takeaway points here are that insolvency and bankruptcy process is still young in India. Also, there is a long way to go yet, especially in the matter of recovery percentage. The Essar Steel resolution has raised the bar, but the overall recovery in all the cases that have been adjudicated is less than 50%. This has to improve along with time taken for resolution. Now, let us move on to the second important article, BRICS on the ball. This can be linked to bilateral regional and global groupings and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interest of the GS2 paper of the syllabus. It is studied from mains perspective. The context is that recently the BRICS summit was held in Brasilia, and the outcome of BRICS summit is the summary of this article. So, what does BRICS stand for? B for Brazil, R for Russia, I for India, C for China, and S for South Africa. This BRICS as a term was given during the late 1990s. And BRICS is a group of developing economies in the world, and they are formed as a counter to G7, mostly involving the developed economies. The BRICS make sure that each country's development is supported by each other in the grouping. So, what are the outcomes of recently concluded summit in Brasilia? First of all, it endeavors to reform and strengthen the multilateral system. Also, it recognizes the urgent need to reform the UN, WTO, and IMF and other international organizations. Why is this? Because the developing economies think that the international institutions like the UN, WTO, and IMF are a puppet in the hands of developed economies, and also they are not serving the purpose of the formation. Hence, the BRICS countries recognize that there should be reform of these important institutions. Another important outcome is that the BRICS countries are pressing for open and free trade. Why is this? Because the international market or the countries are towards protectionism, like we see in the USA or the Brexit, and also increasing terrorist activities all over the globe has led to BRICS commit to counter-terrorism. Its working group on counter-terrorism has expanded its activities through 5 thematic groups that deal with terrorist financing, use of internet for terrorist purposes, countering radicalism, issue of foreign terrorist, and capacity building. Along with this, increasing economic dependency within the group is also being recognized by the BRICS summit outcome. So, what are the important contribution of BRICS? The first and the foremost one is New Development Bank, formed after Fortaleza Declaration in 2014. The grouping's flagship achievement as 44 projects with its lending touching $12.4 billion in just 5 years. Also, the contingent reserve arrangement is a shot in the arm during the emergency or short term balance of payment crisis among the members. The third important one is the Business Promotion Council or the BRICS Business Council. It encouraged the business communities among the members to engage with each other so that the business environment in the countries is enhanced. Another important outcome of BRICS is the partnership on new industrial revolution. This was passed during the 2018 summit in Johannesburg. This aims to take advantage of the new industrial revolution or the Industrial Revolution 4.0 among the BRICS countries. So, how can BRICS be successful in implementing all their proposals? One is that it has to expand its reach to NDB to the non-BRICS countries as well. Also, focusing on the existing commitments before taking new ones is also very important in that light. Let us move to the next important editorial. Odisha's stride in nutrition. This can be studied from government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of their design and implementation, part of the GS2 paper of the syllabus. It can be studied from mains perspective. So what is the context? Odisha has seen an improvement in addressing the child nutrition. So let us see some of Odisha's achievements in this sector. The under 5 mortality rate has halved in NFHS 4 compared to the NFHS 3. NFHS stands for National Family Health Survey. Also, there is a decline in stunting of children under the age of 5 years. There is also a decline in anemia in children and pregnant women. There is also an increase in antenatal care and institutional deliveries. So, what could be the reason that such improvements are seen? It is because of improved financing and better allocations of fund. Also, there is a policy support. The robust leadership in innovations in delivery of services is also an important reason for this success. Decentralizing the procurement under ICDS is an important value adder to the improvements done. However, there are some of negatives of this program because there are constraints in implementation. The nutritional food decreases as the children grow older. Also, less than 10% of the children receive a minimum acceptable diet. Another major cause for such negatives is because of nutritional illiteracy. When there is nutritional illiteracy, the importance of nutrition intake is lacking. With such lack of knowledge, the outcomes will be very less. Also, the remote tribes and the particularly vulnerable tribes also are left out because of the reach of the scheme. So, how can Odisha overcome these problems? Odisha can overcome these problems by ensuring last mile delivery even to the tribals. By setting up mini Anganwadi centers, it can achieve this goal of last mile delivery. Also, raising awareness is a part of any government scheme, and this is an important part to success of the scheme. Interdepartmental engagement is also an important for improving the outcome of the scheme. Improving monitoring mechanisms for better service delivery can deliver better results. Let us move to the next important article. Bhutan to levy charges on tourists from India. This can be linked to India and neighboring country relations in the GS2 paper. Also, it can be studied from mains perspective. So, what is the context? The new Bhutan policy on tourism says that it will be levying charges on tourists from India. So, why is this policy introduced by Bhutan? It is because there was an increase in the number of tourists. It is said that it has grown about 10 times. Also, they believe in high value, low volume policy, and this is being eroded. Also, this policy acts to counter the fraudulent hotels or homestays in Bhutan. So, what is its impact on India? It would impact the number of tourists who are visiting Bhutan. Also, this can be a major concern in the bilateral talks between India and Bhutan. Let us see the next article. Maternity scheme reaches only 1/3 of the beneficiaries. This can be linked to issues related to health part of the syllabus in GS2 paper. It can be studied from both mains and prelims point of view. The context is that the survey conducted by a few researchers is suggesting the success of Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. So, what are the key findings with respect to this scheme conducted by the researchers? It is said that only about 61% of the mothers enrolled in the scheme received their total entitlement of rupees 6,000. Also, it is said that Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana targets only for the first childbirth. The full benefits of the scheme are only accrued to 14% of all births. The results also show that 50% of pregnant women and only 57% of nursing women are eligible for the scheme. Also, it is said that only 66% of pregnant women and 69% of the nursing women are even aware of this scheme. It is also found out from the Jacha Bacha survey that for lack of knowledge or power, most of the sample households were unable to take care of the special needs of pregnancy. Among women who had delivered a baby in the preceding 6 months, only 31% said that they had eaten more nutritious food than the usual during their pregnancy. Also, it is found that their average weight gain during pregnancy was just 7 kg on average, compared with a norm of 13 kg to 18 kg for women with low body mass index. So, what can be the reasons for the lackluster performance of this scheme? It is said that there is a reduced coverage. Also, tedious application process because it consists of submission of Aadhaar cards of not only the mothers, it is also submission of Aadhaar cards of husband as well. Also, the application is 23 pages long. Also, the incessant technical glitches is also contributing to the problems. There is no grievance redressal mechanism in place. As told earlier, Aadhaar linkage is a big problem. Also, meager budgetary allocation. In fact, the author tells that the PMMVY is going against the National Food Security Act because continuously the allocations have been reducing in the PMMVY. All these problems are highlighted by the Jacha Bacha survey as well as the answer to RTI by the government to the researchers. Now let us look at the incentive dispersal structure under PMMY. The first installment of rupees 1000 is given on an early registration of pregnancy at an Anganwadi center or an approved health facility. Also, the second installments of rupees 2000 is disbursed after 6 months of pregnancy on receiving at least one antenatal checkup. And the third installment of rupees 2000 rupees is given after the birth of child and gets registered and the child has received the first cycle of immunization for BCG, OPV, DPT and hepatitis B. So, what is the way forward so that an improvement in the performance of the scheme can be achieved? First and the foremost thing is that educating women with respect to scheme is very important. Also, it is important that women are educated with respect to the nutrition intake. Better policy making and removal of procedural impediments like solving the technical glitches and removing the redundant processes is very important. Also, improving the grassroots level promotion of the scheme is important for the success of not only this scheme but also any other scheme as well. Let us look at the next important article. Panel for softer penalty under company law. This can be linked to Government Acts part of the GS2 paper of the syllabus. It can be studied from mains point of view. The context is that the Company Law Committee recommendations have been made so that the penalties are softer. So, what is the committee about? The Company Law Committee under Injeti Srinivas is to decriminalize the provisions in company law. So, what are the major recommendations of this committee? It is that the removal of criminality or restrict punishments only to fines in certain cases. And another important recommendation is that it is to allow rectification by alternative methods. The Company Law Committee has recommended that 23 out of the 66 compoundable offences be decriminalized. Some of the category of offences are Category A, Category B, Category C, E and F. Category A links to the non-compliance part of the offence. Category B links to the default with reference to maintenance of records. And Category C links to the default with respect to the non-disclosure of interest of persons. So, what is the significance of this Company Law Committee recommendation? It is that by decriminalizing many provisions of the company law, the government is making doing business easier in India and also favor the investors and entrepreneurs so that the economy is on the growth. Let us move to the next important article. ISRO gets set for launch of Cartosat 3 next week. Cartosat 3 is an advanced Earth imaging and mapping satellite. It is a high resolution satellite and a third generation satellite, and it is a first of its kind in India. The purpose of the satellite is advanced Earth imaging and mapping. So, what is the significance of advanced Earth imaging and mapping? It is possible to pick up objects of size as small as 25 centimeters from a distance of 509 kilometers from where the satellite is placed. With this, it can give more accurate images which can help in management of resources in India.